Hi everyone, and welcome back to Mimi Leaks. If you're new here, I'm thrilled to have you join us. Today's episode focuses on the $50 million civil lawsuit filed against media personality and NFL Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe. Doe, 19 when her relationship with the mid-50s Sharpe began, alleges it quickly turned controlling and abusive, including 2 instances of SA over their 2-year relationship. Since the filing on April 20th, several significant developments have emerged, including Sharpe's legal team denying the allegations and claiming Doe had rejected a $10 million settlement offer. Explicit text messages were released, revealing a relationship involving heavy role-playing, while Doe's legal team shared similarly graphic audio recordings. Sharpe publicly disclosed Doe's identity, and his legal team suggested the possibility of a defamation lawsuit. Allegations from Sharpe's past have also resurfaced, including a 2023 lawsuit stemming from SA accusations that led to a leave from CBS, and claims of inappropriate workplace behavior as well, such as a reported choking incident of a female employee at Fox. Also notable is Tony Buzbee, one of Doe's attorneys, known for lawsuits that focus on celebrities and recently facing criticism after a different client's case against Jay-Z was dismissed with prejudice. Before we begin, a content warning. The topics covered here may be upsetting for some viewers. If you find this informative, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to support the channel. And with that, let's get started. This was filed in the 8th District Court of the state of Nevada in Clark County, and it's Jane Doe, plaintiff, versus Shannon Sharpe, defendant, filed on the 20th of April. Introduction. A woman can say yes to consensual relations with a man 99 times, but when she says no even once, that no means no. Defendant Shannon Sharpe, a man who is accustomed to getting what he wants, completely fails to understand this basic concept. After many months of manipulating and controlling plaintiff, a woman more than 30 years younger than he, and repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her, Sharpe refused to accept the answer no and forced himself upon the plaintiff, despite her sobbing and repeated screams of no. Defendant Shannon Sharpe is a 56-year-old former NFL superstar. He claims to be one of the most successful sports media personalities in the country. Plaintiff is a young woman in her early 20s. In 2023, Plaintiff was working out at a gym in Los Angeles when Sharpe approached her for the first time. Previously, Doe had noticed Sharpe watching her during her workouts. At this time, Doe was just 19 years old. At the time, she did not know who he was, only that he was another older man ogling her at the gym. Doe could tell Sharpe was much older than her. She found him physically intimidating. Eventually, he introduced himself. At his determined insistence, she gave him her number. Over the next couple of weeks, Sharpe incessantly pursued the plaintiff. He constantly approached her at the gym and attempted to contact her frequently with phone calls and text messages, asking to meet up, unwilling to take no for an answer. Eventually, plaintiff gave in and agreed to meet with Sharpe outside of the gym. However, before doing so, Sharpe demanded that Doe sign an NDA, something plaintiff found a bit concerning. She wondered why Sharpe was so insistent on her signing an NDA. She refused. Despite his repeated efforts to get her to sign, she refused time and again. Eventually, he dropped the issue and invited her to his house. What followed was the beginning of a rocky consensual relationship that lasted nearly 2 years. The relationship was very unequal. Sharpe is more than 30 years older, is considerably wealthier, is physically much larger, and exponentially stronger. Sharpe is famous and has power. Plaintiff and Sharpe saw each other on his terms and on his schedule as often as 4 times a week. Over time, plaintiff began to see Sharpe's true nature. She found him to be dishonest about his whereabouts. He would lie about seeing other women, while insisting to her that she and he were exclusive. He often manipulated her, at times being sweet and loving to get what he wanted, and at others being angry and aggressive to achieve his goals. She discovered over time that Sharpe was extremely emotional and possessed an uncontrollable temper. He displayed the characteristics of a true narcissist. He wielded his power, his influence, and his celebrity to control plaintiff and get exactly what he wanted, whenever he wanted it, all the while jealously guarding what he considered his for himself. By October 2024, Sharpe's behavior had grown progressively worse, beyond anything plaintiff had experienced with him before. At this point, he was insistent upon recording their intimate activities, sometimes without her knowledge. Sharpe was also sharing the videos with others, without her permission or knowledge. Sharpe would repeatedly tell Doe that he wanted to do to her things that would, quote, make no other man want her, unquote. By this point, Sharpe was no longer able to credibly maintain that the relationship was exclusive. He had, at this point, accidentally or purposefully, to advance his career, went live on Instagram while having intimate relations with another woman. Sharpe flew into fits of anger when the plaintiff noted his infidelity to their relationship or called him out about his extraneous activities. What had once been manipulation, control, and intimidation now became something far more dangerous and sinister. Sharpe even figured out how to get into Doe's apartment complex without her permission. Sharpe made it clear that what Doe wanted was of no moment, that Sharpe would get what he wanted when he wanted it. In October of 24, Shannon Sharpe violently SA'd and anally R'd the plaintiff 2 different times in Las Vegas, blatantly ignoring her requests for him to stop. He did it again in January. Plaintiff left Nevada to temporarily escape Shannon Sharpe. She now seeks justice through this action and other means. Plaintiff seeks compensatory and punitive damages in this matter in excess of $50 million. The parties are plaintiff Jane Doe and defendant Shannon Sharpe. They both live in Clark County, Nevada. Jurisdiction and venue is Nevada, 8th District, Clark County, as this is where the defendant resides and where the acts, events, transactions, and omissions occurred. Factual allegations. A. Defendant Shannon Sharpe. Defendant Sharpe is a former NFL superstar and a well-known sports media personality. After a 14-season career in the NFL, he's considered by some to be one of the greatest tight ends of all time. He is a 3-time Super Bowl champion and was recently inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. Upon retirement, Sharpe transitioned into sports broadcasting, quickly achieving success in the industry. Sharpe spent several years at CBS Sports before moving to Fox, where over a decade, he built a reputation for his strong opinions and hot takes. In 2023, Sharpe joined ESPN, where he remains employed today. In addition to working at ESPN's First Take, Sharpe hosts his own widely followed podcasts, interviewing high-profile athletes, entertainers, and public figures. Sharpe has claimed he made as much as $6 million from one episode of his podcast and is alleged to be signing a multi-million-dollar deal with the Volume Media Group. Sharpe's legacy extends beyond the field in media, and in one glaring area, it is not good. Sharpe has a documented history of abusing and mistreating women. As an example, he is currently a defendant in a lawsuit before the Supreme Court of New York, facing claims from a woman of intentional infliction of emotional distress, among other allegations. Many of the factual allegations in the New York case are eerily similar to his actions towards plaintiff here. According to the New York lawsuit, Sharpe forcefully subdued the plaintiff in that case, forcing her to her knees and subjecting her to non-consensual oral, despite her repeated protests. When she resisted, he persisted. He would not take no for an answer. According to the New York lawsuit, the plaintiff therein feared for her safety, just as plaintiff fears for her safety now. The New York lawsuit further alleges that Sharpe escalated to a no-consensual penetration, all while telling her that he would make it so no other man would want her. These words were apparently not a one-time thing. Plaintiff herein, too, has heard Sharpe say those same exact words to her. In September of 24, Sharpe live-streamed himself on accident, having intimate relations with a woman. He did so on purpose to seek media exposure and to attract social media views and attention. To live stream himself, he would have had to deliberately swipe right on Instagram to activate the live feed. Sharpe claims it was accidental. However, discreetly recording without his partner's knowledge is something he's known to do. He did so with the plaintiff herein. Plaintiff discovered that Sharpe had secretly recorded their encounters without her consent. When she confronted him, he summarily dismissed her concerns, claiming the videos were for his own personal use. That, too, was a lie. Sharpe, on multiple occasions, shared the recordings with his friends and associates. At one point, he even forced plaintiff to have intimate relations with him while FaceTiming one of his childhood friends named Bucket. Wow. Whenever the plaintiff would get up the courage to object to Sharpe's outrageous conduct, which was not often, he would aggressively and angrily put her back in her place. Sharpe isn't just a sports icon, he's something far worse. He's a flawed, narcissistic individual who has spent years using his fame, power, and influence to manipulate, control, subjugate, and violate women. With this suit, plaintiff intends to put an end to this egregious conduct. B. January 2023. The beginning of a consensual but deeply manipulative relationship. Sharpe first met plaintiff at a Los Angeles gym in early 2023. Sharpe would deliberately watch Doe in such a way that would make sure she knew that he was watching her. One day, as plaintiff finished a set and turned around, she found Sharpe standing inches behind her. Sharpe told her he had noticed her at the gym and wondered why she had not introduced herself. This was the first time they spoke. Plaintiff at the time had just turned 20 years old, was caught off guard, and was face-to-face with a 54-year-old man she had never met. Plaintiff did not know at the time who Sharpe was. She did not know what to say or how to feel about his advances. During their first conversation, Sharpe proposed a challenge, a competition to see who could lean out faster. The prize? If plaintiff won, he would buy her, quote, fake tits, unquote. Plaintiff was stunned. The implication that she wanted or needed such a thing was wildly inappropriate. Hearing it from a stranger more than 30 years her senior made it even more disturbing. Throughout their subsequent encounters at the gym, Sharpe made sure plaintiff understood who he was, a celebrity and TV personality. Over the following weeks, Sharpe made himself unavoidable. He was at the gym when she was. He constantly called and texted, demanding she come to his Beverly Glen mansion. Plaintiff repeatedly declined and made up excuses to make her seem too busy to see him. But he would not stop. Sharpe would not be deterred. Eventually, plaintiff gave in, but before she could meet him outside of the gym, Sharpe made another demand. She had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. He refused to explain why and would not let her see a copy of the proposed agreement. He simply insisted she sign one. Plaintiff refused. After multiple attempts, when he realized she would not cooperate, he finally dropped the issue. C. Revealed from the start the violent, aggressive, and controlling nature of Shannon Sharpe. The first night plaintiff went to Sharpe's house, the experience was like anything she has dealt with before, disturbing, unsettling, and even, given his subsequent conduct, very illuminating. When plaintiff arrived at his house, Sharpe opened the door to his Beverly Glen mansion without a word. No greeting, no acknowledgement, no small talk. Without so much as looking at plaintiff, he simply turned away from her after opening the door and walked upstairs. Plaintiff hesitated, but followed as she did not know what else to do or where to go. When they reached the bedroom, Sharpe pointed out the bed before disappearing into the bathroom and shutting the door behind him. He still had not said a word. Plaintiff sat on the bed, waiting, unsure what to expect or if she should leave. Roughly 5 minutes later, he finally emerged, but still, he said nothing. Instead, he turned off all the lights and laid down on the bed. Plaintiff, uncomfortable and unsure of what to do, lay down as well. For roughly 10 minutes, there was nothing but silence. Then, without warning, Sharpe placed his hands on plaintiff's neck from behind, pressed his erect thing against her body, and said the first words of the night, quote, "I knew from the first time I saw you that I was going to R you," unquote. Doe and Sharpe then engaged in oral intimacy. As they did so, Doe at some point realized Sharpe was using his phone. He was apparently recording her, as plaintiff could see that he was trying to be discreet, but it was obvious what he was doing. She said nothing, scared to confront him for what he might do or say. When it ended, he rolled over and went to sleep. At some point during the night, Sharpe woke up, grabbed plaintiff by her... that can't be a private part that he grabbed her by, but maybe it is. So, grabbed her by blank and began having relations with her. The next morning, Sharpe woke up at roughly 4 a.m. to shoot a media segment for sports television. He woke plaintiff as well and told her she needed to leave, but he informed her that she had to go back at 9 p.m. exactly. The following night, plaintiff arrived at Sharpe's house at approximately 9:05, just 5 minutes past the time he had demanded. The moment he opened the door, plaintiff experienced his rage for the first time. Sharpe immediately launched into a verbal assault. He screamed at the plaintiff, berating her for what felt like hours. He accused her of disrespecting him, wasting his time, and warned her that if she wanted to be with the Shannon Sharpe, she would have to learn obedience. Plaintiff was terrified and feared for her physical safety. Still enraged, Sharpe turned off the lights, grabbed her neck, and, just like the night before, began having intercourse with her. This cycle of control, fear, submission all became routine. Yelling at her, controlling her, forcibly grabbing her by the neck when she got upset, saying he was going to kill her, and asserting dominance became the norm. Over the next year and a half, plaintiff saw Sharpe at his house as often as 4 times a week. Sharpe continued to treat her like an object. He continued to control her, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. He demanded complete control over her, time and body, expecting her to be at his house and on his schedule, at his command, whenever he called. The verbal abuse never stopped. He would berate and degrade plaintiff, just as he had from the beginning. One time specifically, he was yelling at her for a while, and did so as there was a firearm visible in his room. Terrified for her safety, plaintiff tried sharing the location with friends from her iPhone just in case. But Sharpe saw her doing this, and the moment he realized what she was doing, he grabbed her by the neck and told her, "If you ever do that again, I will fucking kill you." D. Summer 2024. Sharpe's control turns abusive and the relationship becomes fearful and non-consensual. Sharpe's aggression and rage continued to escalate to the point that plaintiff's friends began to fear for her safety. For example, when plaintiff was with her friends, they could hear Sharpe yelling at her over the phone and would ask her if she was safe and if she was okay. In the summer of 2024, plaintiff and Sharpe moved each on their own to Las Vegas for their own reasons. Sharpe liked to say that the plaintiff followed him to Vegas, but that too is a lie. Once in Vegas, Sharpe again insisted that plaintiff sign an NDA. She refused, and again he persisted. But after each resistance, he let it go and continued seeing her multiple times a week. His behavior did not change. He remained erratic, controlling, and verbally abusive, all while telling plaintiff that he was committed to a intimate, exclusive relationship with her. Then, in September 24, Sharpe humiliated the plaintiff. He live streams himself having intimate relations with another woman on Instagram for over 1.1 million followers to see. He later made jest of the incident on his podcast, Club Shay, and show Nightcap. But for plaintiff, it was anything but funny. He had repeatedly assured her that they were in an exclusive relationship, albeit unhealthy and abusive. That was a lie, and it not only hurt her emotionally, it made her fear for her own health and risks of any STDs. At that point, plaintiff began to pull away from Sharpe. She stopped answering his phone calls and stopped telling him where she was when he demanded to know. Plaintiff's feeble attempts at freedom and independence further upset Sharpe. He began flooding her phone with calls, demanding to know where she was. He called relentlessly, multiple times per hour. The harassment became so unbearable. Plaintiff frequently began leaving Nevada to determined to cut off communication and resist his efforts to control her and attempt to reclaim some control of her life. It took courage for Plaintiff to make this effort. She remained terrified even though she was thousands of miles away. Sharpe simply would not accept independence or freedom from Plaintiff. In October of 24, just after Plaintiff returned from Europe, Sharpe's behavior became more angry, aggressive, and now violent. E. October 6, 2024. Sharpe SAs and Rs the plaintiff and threatens, "I'm going to make it so no man will want you again." On October 6, 2024, plaintiff was working out at a Nevada gym following her usual routine. As she worked out, she saw Sharpe aggressively approaching her. She could tell by his look and the way he moved quickly towards her that he was furious for having been ignored. As soon as he got close, he told her, "Sit the F down or I'm going to kill you." Plaintiff refused. "I don't want to talk to you. You cheated on me." His response was dismissive and controlling as usual. "You don't have a choice." Sharpe demanded that they talk in private. Again, plaintiff told him no. She made it clear she did not want to talk to him, be alone with him, or want him coming to her home. But Sharpe did not care. He never took no for an answer. Sharpe forced plaintiff, under threat, to get into his car and to go to her house. Once Sharpe was inside the apartment, plaintiff tried to keep the conversation in the living room, but he refused. He demanded they go to the bedroom. She said no. He didn't listen, nor did he care. Once inside the bedroom, Sharpe grabbed her from behind and forcibly positioned her to perform oral. He held her in place and then forced her to begin performing. He became even angrier and said, quote, "You've disrespected me so much. I'm going to punish this asshole. I'm going to make it so no man will want you again." Plaintiff at this point was crying and sobbing. Tears streamed down her face as Sharpe repositioned her and took her from behind and inserted himself into her. As he forcibly assaulted her, he said, "Turn around and look at me." Sharpe grabbed her head, forcing her to look at him as she sobbed. He said at that point, "Look at this. Look at my arm. I've got chills. That's how good this is." Sharpe forced himself on the plaintiff and SA'd her, despite her sobbing in agony as it happened. He told her, in the moment that she was crying, that the experience was so good it gave him chills. Sharpe's behavior demonstrates that he believed plaintiff to be his personal property, possessed and owned by him. He also believed that the laws did not apply to him and that he could take what he wanted, as well as that no one could stop or would stop him. He was and is wrong. F. January 2025. Sharpe SAs and Rs the plaintiff, ignoring her screams and refusing to wear a condom. On January 2nd, 2025, Sharpe told plaintiff he wanted to see her. Sharpe persisted and reminded plaintiff that he had a combined Christmas and birthday gift to give to her, as he previously promised her a gift. She ultimately allowed him to come over to her apartment. She regrets that decision. Once inside the apartment, Sharpe began undressing. Plaintiff firmly stated multiple times that they would not have intercourse without protection, demanding that he wear a condom. She knew in the past he refused to even use them and believed that her demand would stop him from having relations with her. But although he refused to use a condom, he still insisted on intercourse. She tried to resist him. She screamed. She had already expressed concerns for her safety, knowing that he had been involved with other women, increasing the risk of transmitting a disease. The more she begged, Sharpe became more aggressive and made it clear he would not wear a condom and that he was going to have his way with her. Sharpe grabbed her, pulling her around and positioning her to perform oral, which lasted approximately 2 minutes. Then, Sharpe repositioned her and roughly forced himself inside her. Plaintiff never stopped demanding and begging that he stop or put on a condom. Sharpe ignored her. As soon as he penetrated her, plaintiff screamed and sobbed. Her cries for help did nothing to stop him. The assault lasted roughly 10 minutes, ending only when Sharpe ejaculated inside of her. Plaintiff cried and begged repeatedly for him to stop. Plaintiff left Nevada after the assault. Plaintiff brings these causes of action in this honorable court to recover damages as outlined below. It is imperative that Shannon Sharpe and those like him are held accountable for their actions to prevent them from further engaging in SA or sodomy and harming future victims. First claim for relief on screen is for assault, SA, battery, and actual battery. And to summarize, Sharpe's accused of willfully and unlawfully employing threats of violence and physical force against the plaintiff, which caused harmful and offensive contact, resulting in injury, including pain and suffering, as well as psychological and emotional distress, mental anguish, embarrassment, and humiliation. And from this, the plaintiff seeks to recover damages in an amount determined at trial. The second claim, intentional infliction of emotional distress, asserts that Sharpe deliberately engaged in egregious conduct and it exceeds societal bounds of decency. And as a result, the plaintiff endured significant mental anguish and fear for her safety, reinforced by verbal threats. As alleged, these actions caused and will continue to cause pain and suffering, psychological and emotional distress, humiliation, embarrassment, and lasting mental torment. Plaintiff seeks actual damages in an amount determined at trial, as well as punitive damages. Plaintiff demands a jury trial and also seeks or prays for judgment against the defendant as follows: general damages greater than $10 million, special damages greater than $10 million, punitive damages greater than $20 million, statutory penalties greater than $10 million, declaration of rights as outlined, legal fees and litigation costs, statutory interest, and any additional relief that the court may deem appropriate. And it's signed Doe attorneys, Micah Nash and Tony Buzbee. And that's it. This complaint certainly did not hold back in its description of events, did it? Will it settle before trial? Will Sharpe countersue as claimed? What's your take on this legal battle? Do you think the evidence presented will sway the court? And would you like to hear the details of the New York claim, the one filed in 2023? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on this case and others. Until next time, stay safe.